All right, moving over to the heavy hitters now. We got the heavyweights throwing down as we have tied Tuivasa coming in at plus 235, going up against Teixeira, who comes in at minus 275. Now, I'll start off on the Tuivasa side of things, who's on a 5-fight losing streak. We do not often see the UFC give guys an opportunity after a 3-fight losing streak, not even after a 4-fight losing streak, let alone a 5-fight losing streak. But considering the popularity, considering the pull that Tai Tuivasa has, the UFC is probably still leaving hope that he has what it takes to still notch a win and save his UFC roster spot. At his best, power puncher, good leg kicks. He's very, dense as well, the way that he kind of steps in the cage and just the way that he fights. But we know often he's going to get outstruck by more technical strikers, just as we saw in the Jairzinho Rozenstruik fight, which I want to make a note on when I get back to it. Or he gets submitted by better grapplers, like we saw against Marcin Tybura and Alexander Volkov. Or he gets knocked out clean against Sergey Pavlovich. Or gets touched up and eventually knocked out like he did against Saragon. So he's usually outskilled in a lot of his fights, right? It comes down to him landing that power and trying to get opponents out of there like he did against Derek Lewis. So those are the things that we need to focus in on. Against Rozenstruik, he lost by split decision in one of the most egregious scorecards I think we've ever seen in the history of the UFC. One judge scored all 3 rounds for Tai Tuivasa, even though he got tripled up on every single round. Or the entire fight. I think it was like 93 significant strikes that Rozenstruik landed compared to the 32 strikes. Maybe not 32. I forgot exactly how much it was, but it was like 30-something strikes that Tuivasa landed. Tuivasa was moving forward the entire time, so maybe that played into that judge, but still. It was clear that Rozenstruik was landing early, landing often, and landing more shots, and that should have been favored much more than the forward pressure of Tuivasa. You got to wonder how invested Tuivasa is in this game, right? Credit to him. He got very popular. He has the whole shoey gimmick going on for him. But it's clear that he's invested in a lot of businesses outside of mixed martial arts to try to set him up, for his post-UFC fight career, I guess you can say. He even invested in some sport where it's like, 2 guys running into each other. It's the dumbest thing that I've seen, some freaking power slap. But he's moved from Australia to Dubai. Seems like that's where a lot of the business opportunities are for him as well. And that's where he's looking to take advantage. So credit him for looking after himself in that aspect. But in terms of fighting, you got to be 100% in. And you know who's 100% in? Thaleson Teixeira. A guy that stormed his way into the UFC through the Contender Series, finished Justin Tafa in mere seconds, and then eventually got propelled right into a main event slot for a fight night against the UFC record holder of knockouts, Derek the Black Beast Lewis. Was that too quick for Teixeira? Most would say yes, but that just shows you how shallow the heavyweight division is. All you need is one good knockout win, and you might find yourself close to title contention, or at least close enough to headline a fight night against a guy that's been in the UFC for 10 plus years. That was Teixeira's fate last time around as he took on Derek Lewis and unfortunately got knocked out in 35 seconds, showcasing that it might have been a little bit too soon for the youngster. He's 26 years old, stands at a towering 6'7" frame with an 83-inch reach, and he's a BJJ black belt. But he's been disposing of all of his opponents by strikes. 7 of his 8 wins coming by knockout, 1 of them coming by submission. You see him leaning on the grappling in some fights, trying to utilize that physicality and that size to keep opponents on their back and then just rain down with big shots or threaten with submissions, or just walking through guys with big power punches like he did against Justin Tafa. He is, decently skilled. His frame and his size and his physicality kind of makes him an outlier in the rest of the heavyweight division. But that power that he's able to generate because of that size will always make him dangerous no matter who he ends up fighting. Now here in this matchup, there is a tremendous experience advantage for the Aussie fighter, for Tuivasa. But the layoff, the half in, half out mentality that he has, and the monster that he's going up against, it makes sense why Teixeira is up at minus 275. Can Tuivasa land a big strike and put Teixeira down? Maybe. But I think that we see Teixeira look to get this fight where he gets the least amount of resistance from Tuivasa. I think he can get the takedown. I think he can quickly get that top position. And I think from there, he either threatens with submissions or that TKO. You can get Teixeira by submission sitting at plus 700. Tuivasa is very susceptible to getting submitted, and I think if Teixeira is smart enough, he'll see that, and I think he can line up a pretty easy arm triangle position and get the finish that way. Unless he finds himself right in full mount, he could just elbow his way to a TKO finish there as well. So I think Teixeira runs through Tuivasa. Tuivasa does not inspire much confidence considering where he's at in his career right now. He's not old by any means, but he's just clearly not with his head in the game anymore, and I think Teixeira will make him pay for that. So give me Thaleson Teixeira. I'm going to say by submission, and I might take a little bit of a poke on that prop as well, but yeah, I'm going to go Thaleson Teixeira by sub.